Previously, we trimmed fabric strips and did a bit of gluing over our custom box enclosure. In this video, we'll be gluing a lot more. Gather your glue container, a wet paper towel, a glue brush, and a micro spatula. Gather all of your barrier board pieces and grab some mylar to protect the surface you'll be gluing on. We'll start by gluing inner flat B to the bottom strip. You will only be gluing the very edge of inner flat B to the fabric of the bottom strip, placing it only up to the markings you made on the fabric earlier. Once again, you'll only need a thin coat of glue, so it's best only to dip the tips of your glue brush into the glue. Now, coat the small section of the fabric of the bottom strip that inner flat B will be attached to, so just along the edge up to the markings you made, and also to the far edge of the barrier board. Once coated, place inner flat B up to the pencil markings and aligned with the far edges of the bottom strip's barrier board. Make sure to wipe away any stray glue with a wet paper towel, and use a bone folder to help the barrier board adhere to the fabric. Then, place a piece of mylar on top of the area you glued, and then await. Next, you will be gluing the centerpiece barrier board to the other side of the bottom fabric strip. After a few minutes, remove the weight and mylar, and flip over or replace your bottom mylar if there's a lot of glue on it from your first coat. Like the last piece of barrier board, the centerpiece should only be glued up to the pencil markings you made, and aligned as much as possible with the far edges of the bottom strip barrier board. Once again, don't use much glue, and coat the fabric like you did previously, only on the other side of the bottom strip. Like before, use a bone folder and lay mylar in a weight on top of the area you glued and leave them there for at least a few minutes. Next, you'll be gluing the edges of the fabric over the barrier board like so. Remove the weight and mylar, and using only a thin coat of glue, coat the entirety of one side of the bottom fabric strip, making sure to reach all the edges. Now, bend the glue-coated side of the fabric over the barrier board as far as it will go. Make sure the area where it bends is properly sticking by running over it with a bone folder. Also use the bone folder over the entirety of the fabric to make sure it's glued down. Work out any kinks or creases in the fabric. Then, with the tip of the bone folder, press into the small gaps left between the barrier board pieces to indent the fabric into them. One side of the fabric may pop up when you do this, but just flatten them back down. Use a wet paper towel to wipe away any glue that gets on the visible side of the fabric, as it will stain it. Now, repeat for the other gap. You will probably need to wipe off excess glue that will get squeezed out from under the fabric edges. Now, repeat the process for the other side of the bottom fabric strip. When the second side is laid down, it should overlap or meet up with the other side of the fabric. However, it doesn't have to be perfect. Likely, the corners of the fabric will need some extra gluing. For this, take your micro spatula, dip it into your glue, and spread your glue onto areas that aren't sticking. Go over them again with a bone folder. You will be repeating all of these steps to attach inner flap A and the top strip to the centerpiece. Continue by first attaching the top strip to the other side of the centerpiece. Like before, you'll align the edge of the centerpiece barrier board up to the pencil markings you made on the top fabric strip. Cover the small section of fabric with glue like before. and place down the barrier board like we did previously. Once again, lay mylar and a weight over the glued area and let it sit for a few minutes. After that, remove the weight and mylar and move on to gluing inner flap A to the top fabric strip. Remember not to glue the sides of the barrier board that have rounded edges. You'll once again repeat the gluing process. Once you've let your glued areas dry for a few minutes, use the same gluing process we used earlier when gluing down the remaining sides of the fabric. Next, you'll be attaching side strip A and outer flap A to your glued centerpiece. And remember to replace or flip over your bottom mylar. This is where the corners of the side fabric strips you made earlier come in handy. You will be tucking the center portion of the side fabric strips underneath the centerpiece while leaving the outer sides of it laying over the top. The centerpiece should scoot into the side fabric strip up to the pencil markings and align with the edge of the side strip barrier board. Coat the center portion of the edge of the side fabric strip in glue. It can be tricky tucking this portion of the fabric underneath the centerpiece, but just take your time. Remember to stay aligned with the pencil markings. And use a bone folder to help the fabric adhere to the centerpiece. Then, glue outer flap A onto side strip A. Repeat the gluing process, only coating a small section of the fabric in glue. Place another mylar strip on top of the glued areas with a weight and let them dry for a bit. After they are dry, you will repeat the side strip gluing process, only this time using side strip B and outer flap B, which should be your last remaining pieces. Once all the pieces are attached and mostly dry, we will be gluing the sides of the side fabric strips over the barrier board, like we did with the top and bottom strips. This part of gluing can be a bit tricky, as a portion will be fabric glued to fabric, and it is difficult for the fabrics to adhere to each other. Also make sure the wedged corner of the fabric is also sticking, and that there are no creases or kinks. Always remember to press the fabric into the gaps between the barrier board. As expected, I'll have to add glue to the troublesome corner. Repeat this process for the other side. And you will also glue down the side fabric strips on the other side of the centerpiece. Once again, you'll be repeating the gluing process we went through. You can always refer back to portions of this video if you need help, or someone will usually be around to help you. Once you've finished all of your gluing, place mylar strips over the areas you've glued with weights. Since you are completely done with your gluing, it's best to leave the box to dry overnight so there won't be any excess moisture when you first place materials in it. Once dry, remove the mylar and weights and test the bendability and durability of the box to make sure everything is properly attached and ready to go. It's also a good idea to erase any visible pencil marks or other notes, like the barrier board names. Once finished, place your materials in the box to make sure the box is a good fit. To finish, you'll use Velcro dots to attach the pairs of inner and outer flaps to each other. Do this by taking both Velcro dots and sticking them to each other. Then, place the pair on one side of the flaps, estimating where the flaps will overlap with each other. Press the adhesive side of the Velcro button into the flaps by closing them firmly. Once you open the flaps, the Velcro button should pull apart. You'll do the same for the other side of the flaps. So this pair of flaps will have 2 sets of Velcro buttons. You'll also place 2 pairs of Velcro buttons on this pair of flaps. In total, you should have 4 pairs of Velcro buttons. And you're finished with your custom box enclosure. Congratulations and great job! And I'll see you in the next video. Please visit our Special Collections website for more information about our digital archives, services, or to contact our staff.